Hello and welcome back to Assetto Corsa Competizione. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, and today we are going to be taking a look, as you can see on the screen, at Build 3, which has been released just a couple of days ago, bringing in the BMW M6 GT3 car, the Paul Ricard circuit, or Circuit Paul Ricard, and of course a whole raft of updates and features, including 3 and 6 hour endurance racing, pit stops, and basic multiplayer. So as you can see right now, I'm just going to have a look through the menus, see if there's anything available, and give you a rundown over what to expect in the rest of this video. So, for the rest of this video, what you are going to be seeing is, first of all, my first race in this actual title. So I've never actually had a race in this title. This is going to be my first race. I'm going to do a quick race, obviously, as I said, with the BMW and the Circuit Paul Ricard. So you can see me setting up right now, so you can have a look at the actual car itself and what is available, what skins are available for it, which is obviously the real life ones, what drivers are available with that. And on top of that, I'm going to be driving this car for the first time. I'm going to be driving at Paul Ricard for the first time since 2015. September 2015 is the last time I drove at this track, and that was with an F1 car, a Williams FW31. So this is going to be very, very interesting. As I said, absolute first time with both. I have not driven before on either one in this title, aside from actually making sure it loaded. So I did do about a minute or two making sure that the actual car was loading in properly, and everything's okay as per usual. Anyway, roll the intro. So here we are, starting up on the starting grid. As you can see, I'm starting in 15th place of 17. That's where it's decided to place me on the random seed generation. So that's where I'm going to be starting, and I think my goal is to finish 10th. That being said, the AI is not on the easiest, but it's not on the absolute hardest, and I've not driven this car before at all, just like I mentioned. So this is going to be actually very interesting, and we do get to have a formation lap. So over the next, I think this is going to be about 25 minutes or so. So over the next 25 minutes or so, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about the car, giving you some specs, as I used to on Assetto Corsa. I'll give you the specs, and then after I've given you the specs, I will be talking about my feelings on the car. I'll talk about the track, give you some information about the track, and I will also run through some of the changelog at the end, just for those people interested in the changelog itself, what has changed and what I'll be able to tell you. So I'll be able to give you a list here and there of a few things that have changed, maybe to your favourite car. What should we start with? I think we should probably start with the track. So we'll start with the track. So Circuit Paul Ricard is obviously a racetrack in France, as you would have figured it out. I think it was built in 1969, somewhere near Marseille, I believe. So somewhere near Marseille. It is the highest class racetrack, which means Formula 1 cars can race at it, as they do now. It never used to be, but, well, I say it never used to be. It was, and then it wasn't, and now it is again. So Formula 1 does race since 2018, so i.e. this year. We've had Formula 1 cars racing at this track, and of course we had Formula 1 cars racing, I think, in the 1980s at this track. There are actually quite a few layouts to this track. If I understand correctly, there are something like 167 configurations to this track. The shortest configuration of the track is about half a mile long, and the longest configuration of the track will be, I think, 3.5 or just over 3.5 miles long. So it's a very, very interesting track. The version in this title, I believe, is without the chicane, so that would be the long circuit. As you can see, we're not going in and out of that chicane. That is a 3.61 mile track, or 5.8 kilometers, give or take a few meters here and there, 14 turns, and the lap record is held by Keke Rosberg in his Williams Honda FW10 in 1985 with a 139.914. The current lap record from 2018 with the chicane is a 134.225. Valtteri Bottas of Mercedes. We don't have to worry about the club circuit or anything like that, but as I said, it's been around for quite a long time. It's a top class track. It does Formula 1, it does World Touring Car Championship, French Grand Prix, MotoGP, and the FIA GT, which is exactly what we're doing here, which I think is so we've got the French Grand Prix, MotoGP, and this GT race, which is I think a 6-hour race. 6-hour race, and I think it's of 6 hours of Castellet, or I'm not sure exactly how that's pronounced, but yeah, that's what we've got. Now, the interesting thing about this track are these runoff areas that you see to the side. This is something that's fairly unique, I believe, to this track and this track alone, although I'm sure somebody in the comments box will be able to correct me if I am wrong, and chances of me being wrong are pretty high. So if you have a look in the replay box, and indeed also at the front window as we're about to go green. As a matter of fact, let's wait for us to go green and let's do a go 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 or something. And it's go 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 at the circuits. Paul Ricard, here we go. We've got off to not the greatest of starts. We bogged down a little bit off the line because we didn't actually get on the throttle enough, but now we've gone past the Audi and we're going to see if we can crawl up the inside of the Lamborghini. We are going to go up the inside of the Lamborghini, and we've got that red Mercedes to boot as well, although that one comes back at us and cuts in front of us. There's a Ferrari that's gone off. I've just seen one of the green Ferraris go off, just had to avoid that, and we're coming up now towards another Mercedes car, braking nice and hard. I think I've still got a car on my inside, so I have to be very, very careful about that. It's now behind me, so now I've got to drive a little bit defensively, make sure it doesn't actually catch up to me again or overtake me, although that's been a really, really bad exit, getting caught on the curbs right there, which means that the Mercedes is once again alongside. I am now going to try and get away from it on the straight. I've actually had a good exit off that corner onto the long straight, which of course is known as the Mistral Straight. So this allows us to get back into the track. As you can see around the Mistral Straight, we have these blue and red sort of lines everywhere. Those are runoff areas, and instead of having gravel traps, we basically go into these runoff areas as I take that Bentley and beat it quite easily, although it might come back at me. There it comes back at me, as I don't know this track very well. But yes, going back to the runoff areas, those runoff areas over to the left and right, which are blue and red, actually replace the gravel areas, and they are just high abrasiveness. Yes, that's correct. High abrasiveness tarmac. So by that I mean the friction on these locations, on these areas, is incredibly high, and they just slow the car down massively and cause a lot of tyre wear. As I have my first bump of the day. This isn't the only bump I'm going to have. I'm going to have quite a few bumps for various reasons, which I will explain. A couple of them are just bad driving, but a few of them just a genuine reason. But yes, as I was saying, so these runoff areas actually they're very useful, and they slow a car down without actually knocking them out the race as a regular gravel trap. That being said, personally, I quite like the gravel traps. Tarmac runoff areas, definitely don't like. Gravel traps I really like, as I am just taken up the inside by the Lamborghini, that green Lamborghini, and I am left in the dust just for that moment, although I am going to try and come back at the Lamborghini. And this is why I can talk about the AI as well. So we'll talk about the AI before getting into the car. We've talked a little bit about the track. We know the runoff areas. Admittedly, I'm not sure the runoff areas work in this version yet. I drove off the runoff areas and the blue didn't seem to be slowing me down much at all. But then again, it may not actually slow me down a huge amount, and maybe I didn't notice it because I was too busy trying to get back on track after horrendous errors. Nevertheless, here we go, talking about the AI, I am beating that Bentley. That's another Bentley I've taken, and now I'm going to take that Lamborghini round the outside. We're coming up to the end of the Mistral Straight. This is going to be a wide sweeping right-hander, and I'm going to brake early. Not BMW, sorry, that Lamborghini, I am in the BMW. That Lamborghini has absolutely left me in the dust. So this is again showing that I don't know this track. I just do not know this track. I don't know my braking points, I don't know my turning points, I don't know the lines through this track, I don't know the fastest way in or out of any corner on this track. And really, you're going to see that over the next few laps, it's going to be incredibly difficult for me to be able to learn this track whilst being hounded by the AI. And as you can see there, I went off the track and I didn't feel that slowing me down as much as I make some contact with that Mercedes. And we do have safety ratings. Unfortunately, I don't think my safety rating was working at the moment, and in any case I wasn't really bothered about the safety rating this time. I just wanted to see what it was like. So moving on from that, as I said, let's talk a little bit about the AI. They were actually really quite good. As I said, they weren't on the hardest, so it wasn't the hardest kind of AI that I was going to have, but they were not easy. They were not easy at all. And I did see at points, I'll say the bad parts first. At points, I did see the AI get a little bit squirrely and not very smart at times. However, aside from that, and a few instances where I could see them running on rails, and if you look in the replay box where I am going to have a train behind me, you'll see quite often they seem to be running on rails a fair amount, and by that I mean all of them are using pretty much the same line lap after lap after lap. And that's a problem that we've had with AI for a very long time. Unfortunately, that problem has not been solved yet, but it is a lot better. It is a lot better than it used to be. So we do have that. Now you're going to see some defensive driving, because as I said, when the AI get behind you, and now I'm going to have quite a good battle with this Audi over the next 3 or 4 laps, I think. This Audi that's behind me, clearly faster than me. Obviously the AI know the track, I don't. This Audi was hounding me through the entire race until it actually got past me, but for about 4 or 5 laps, I think it's going to be, this Audi is going to hound me corner after corner after corner, and it was a fantastic battle with the computer. It really was a fantastic battle with the computer. I was thoroughly impressed with how it did that. It would still default back to the rails that it was on, but when it would see an opportunity, it would try to pass me. They would go on the inside, they would go on the outside. That's really good. I'm glad to see that, because I think I could really enjoy driving in Assetto Corsa if this happens. And if we can do this, I think that Assetto Corsa Competizione as a GT3 title is going to be spectacularly good. On another note, I really can't wait to try that Audi out, because my favourite, or one of my favourite GT3 cars is the Audi R8. Not the Bentley, although it's pretty good. I've never liked the Lamborghini, even though again that's fairly good. The McLaren I really like, and I like the Audi. Those are the 2 cars that I really like, the McLaren and the Audi, and they are very different. Both cars are different, but I still like both of them more than any other car on the GT3 series, which brings me very nicely to the BMW M6 GT3 car. Now, believe it or not, this car can be purchased. I think it costs something around, for race teams, I think it costs something around $400,000 or something, £320,000 or somewhere around that figure. I'm not entirely sure, but just think between £300,000 and £400,000 is what one of these cars cost. Now, this replaced the BMW Z4 GT3 car, which again, I haven't driven a BMW Z4 GT3 car in I'm just thinking, I've raced against it, just, you know, in Assetto Corsa, just doing a bit of messing around, but I haven't driven a BMW GT car, race car full stop, aside from a Formula 1 car, since probably 2014. 2014 or again 2015 perhaps is the last time I drove a BMW, so this was very different for me to jump into. But yes, as I said, this was the successor to the BMW Z4 GT3 car. Very different kind of car though, and it was so good that in its first year I believe it won the Spa race. So was it the Spa endurance race? I can't remember how long that race was, but it won it in its very first year. So I'm going to talk about a bit of the specifications that I could find about this particular car. It comes with a 4.4 litre P63 production engine. As we know, GT3 cars have to have production engines, slightly tweaked I think, with M twin power turbo technology, so I think it's got a twin turbo turbocharger. So it's a 4.4 litre twin turbo V8 engine. With the 4.4 litres it can actually produce 585 horsepower depending on the classification of the actual race. It's got the standard, the standard race oil system, so BMW's motorsport oil system, an air intercooler specially designed for racing. I think the engine management was done by Cosworth. So Cosworth worked on this car as well, and we all know the Cosworth name, very famous with Ford Cosworth engines. So Cosworth engine management with BMW Motorsport software on the ECU. The transmission on this particular car is a 6-speed sequential racing transmission.
Still a long way to go.
That actually, that bit of radio got me, and I wanted to turn back on the radio and say stop talking to me in the middle of a corner, because it really wasn't great. 6-speed sequential racing transmission, as you can see, so it's operated with a paddle, so you've got paddle shifters. It's got an adjustable differential, and it perfectly distributes the weight between the front and rear axles, which is like, okay, fair enough, let's see how that works. We've got a hydraulic 4-disc clutch on the gearbox, and we've got BBS rims, and of course they are in black. The chassis itself is optimized from the 2016 season, so it was aerodynamically optimized for that season. As I completely mess up that corner, that was probably the worst corner I have done in a racing game in a very, very long time. Game simulator, you name it, that was the worst thing I have done. It has, I think, the brake discs are AP Racing. I think it's an AP Racing system, and it's a 6-piston caliper on the front and 4 pistons on the back, and of course we've got the Bosch ABS systems, as you would get. Those rims, by the way, are 18 inches. It's they're R18s front and back, and we've got adjustable traction control. We've got the I think it's pronounced Öhlins shock absorbers, 4-way adjustable, and of course we've got the anti-roll bar, double wishbone suspension. Everything is adjustable as you would expect, and it's closed undercarriage, so it's got a flat floor, obviously for better airflow, diffusers and the work splitters, you name it, it's got it. So I think that's pretty much all about the specifications, except let me think, what haven't I said? Mass of the car. It's I had to look a little bit for this, but I believe it's just slightly under 1,300 kilograms, which is fairly light for a car of this size, and it's got an exterior. I think this helped because the exterior is completely carbon fiber, and the crash structure is carbon fiber. The elements at the back, carbon fiber reinforced polymers, so all of that is of course carbon fiber, which makes it very, very light. I think that is about it. There's not much more information I can give you about the car in terms of specifications, or about the track, or about the AI. What I can now tell you is what this car felt like. This car is a very different car once again to the Bentley and to the Lamborghini. Now, in terms of size, it felt as big as the Bentley. So there is that. It felt as big as the Bentley. However, in terms of feel, it felt incredibly light. It does have a longer wheelbase than the cars that are the Lamborghini, for example. At least it felt like it had a longer wheelbase, which means that in the slower corners it wasn't quite as good. However, in the faster corners, or the mid-speed and the high-speed corners, I felt like I was able to carry speed, and I didn't do this car justice personally, because I just didn't know how to drive the car. So I felt like it was capable of a lot of speed, but I couldn't extract that speed at that particular moment in time. Am I still fighting with that Audi? I think I am as well. I'm still fighting with that Audi. So like I said, I just couldn't extract that speed, but I definitely felt that in mid-speed and high-speed corners, this car was pretty good, especially coming out onto the Mistral straight. I always felt like I was getting a really good line. Oh no, I'm not fighting with the Audi. The Audi's gone. There it goes. I'm now going to be fighting with another Bentley that I've got to catch up to. But I felt like I was getting a better line through the faster corners than the AI, and that's a good thing. That felt like a good thing. But in the slow corners, especially coming up to this corner here, I felt like I was struggling, and I felt like the Bentleys were struggling as well in front of me. So this Bentley in front of me, I felt like I wasn't the only one struggling with these corners. See, I felt like the Audi was getting away, the Mercedes were catching up, and certainly the Ferraris were doing a good job, although I can't see a Ferrari here, and the Lamborghinis were definitely doing a good job. But for myself and the Bentley, I felt like we were struggling. The Bentley more so than me. Especially, see, as you can see out of that corner, I was definitely getting a much better run. I was just better on the acceleration. I could turn in, I could hold that speed a little bit more. So, that's what I felt with this car. I also felt like, and I don't know whether this was something that had been reset or has been changed, my steering input just wasn't quite as responsive. I feel like I need to reduce my steering angle. Currently I've got it at 540 degrees. I felt like I had to reduce that steering angle, because as I was turning in, it just didn't feel like it was responding as much. Even though I had it on an aggressive setup, I was expecting a lot more response off those front wheels. I just was not getting it. Now, this might be something to do with the car, or it might be something to do with the sim. I can't say quite yet which one it was, but I feel like maybe it's probably a combination of both. The car was somewhat understeer, and I think maybe that long wheelbase has something to do with it, as well as the fact that the engine is, of course, in the front. So that, I think, has something to do with it. On the other hand, in the high-speed corners, it did do really quite well. Aside from that, it felt very fast. It actually felt faster than the Lamborghini and the Bentley under acceleration. For some reason, it just felt faster. In fact, I think it was faster than the Bentley. I don't know whether it was faster than the Lamborghini, but it certainly felt faster than the Bentley. And it just felt faster than the Lamborghini, as I mess up my braking point once again. It felt faster than the Lamborghini, but that might be some sort of placebo effects, because I really was enjoying the car. But I know that this definitely felt faster than the Bentley, and I like the Bentley. Although not quite as much as this car now. In anything else about this car that I really can say? The brakes on the car, pretty strong brakes, but I think the Lamborghini was more I don't know whether stable is the right word under braking. I don't think the Lamborghini was more stable under braking. I think it was that this car, because it's front-engined, as you can see right there, that's a perfect example right there. Because it was front-engined, when I was hitting the brakes, with that weight transfer being shifted to the front, the back of the car got very loose very quickly. It wasn't a mid-engine, so there isn't that mass there in the middle of the car, or towards the rear axle. And that actually allows the car to not have so much weight shifted forward, or should I say mass shifted forward. No, actually it's weight. It is weight. It's the weight transfer because it is using gravity. But that weight transfer, because the mass is not in the middle, I felt like this car would get a little bit more squirrely under braking. So when you hit the brakes after the Mistral straights, for example, and turned in, you feel the back end really step out. So that was something to think about, and that was something that I did pick up on. Again, as I said, not quite as agile as the Lamborghini, that's for certain. Going into some of these corners, it struggled with the tighter corners, but it was definitely better at the wider corners, and that's why I think it won Spa in the first year. Though it's a great car regardless, I think it won Spa in the first year because after La Source, apart from the bus stop chicane, there aren't that many tight corners that I can think of. I'm just trying to think. I suppose after the Kemmel Straight you do have that chicane, but that opens up pretty quickly. So I guess La Source, the first turn after the Kemmel Straight, and the bus stop chicane. That's it. That's the only real tight corners that this car would have had to struggle with. Everything else was a faster corner, and I think that's where this car really does shine. So anyway, to finish this video off, I've got another lap or so remaining. There is going to be an interesting bug that comes up at the end, so make sure you stay tuned to see a bug. But to finish this video off, let me talk a little bit about the patch notes, and now I'm just going to read off a few patch notes. Obviously we know that they've got the BMW, we know we've got the new circuit. They've introduced practice session in multiplayer, so you can do practicing 3 hours and 6 hours endurance race weekend. New online special events with leaderboards. We've got some of the old special events that are now available. Setup alignment custom modification now possible. Bump stop up range is now in stable offset with wheel rate, whatever that means, I'm not exactly sure. There has been some adjustments to the dry tyre modelling, or the model for the rolling resistance on the dry tyre, and the rain tyre they've done the same. They've got some rolling resistance on the surface and aero drag adjustments. Brake duct preparations are now available on the setup screen, are now available, or at least they will be very soon. So there is a preparation screen there, but it's not actually available at the moment. Traction control logic has been improved. Start assist has been improved. Transmission and engine wobble and vibration simulation has been improved. Traction control logic, by the way, takes into account the engine and drivetrain vibration and tries to protect system malfunctions. Pit limiter has been improved. The pit limiter is only available in first. If you select second, it will disengage the pit limiter. There is ram air simulation for normally aspirated engines. Some improvements on the Huracan steering geometry. Improvements on all the preset setups. There's dirt build-up. Now, I didn't see this dirt build-up on the car, although I did see tire debris build-up on the side. The marbles and stuff, so I did see that on the side, but I didn't see dirt build up on the car. There's been a fix with the ABS value on the Bentley, which was a little bit incorrect. The speedometer, or the speed limiter, sorry, on the Bentley was also been fixed. There were some display issues. There's a few graphical fixes here and there, so that's pretty good. There's been some VR fixes. They've done some fixes to the replay menu, they've done some audio fixes, and then they've done some performance optimization. So that's pretty good. So that's the changelog itself in a nutshell. And here comes the interesting little bug. As you can see, I got very confused here. So I've just stopped. Now, at this point in time, I was actually in 8th place. Now, I wanted to get 10th. Sorry, 7th place. I was in 7th place here. I wanted to get 10th, and this happened. The cars just stopped. Now the session is over, and I'm not sure, but I think those cars had finished their session and they've just parked up. So there you go, little bug for Kunos to fix. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Leave a comment in the comments box below letting me know what you think, and don't forget to support me on Patreon, www.patreon.com/ecgadget. Your support will be massively appreciated. Shout out to Mr. Leo for actually wanting this series to return and wanting me to make more Assetto Corsa videos. Aside from that, you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ecgadget and on social media at ecgadgetlp for both Twitter and Instagram. That's all from me, and I'll see you guys next time in Assetto Corsa Competizione.